York's very own muscle building coaches, Anthony Bevilacqua and Pete Kacharian, proudly present to you New York Muscle Radio.
What's up, guys? New York Muscle Radio, episode number 146. Boost your results for your exact body type. Is your body type holding you back from making progress? Do you genetically seem to hold more fat? Or are you a skinny person who doesn't even look like they lift? In today's episode, your New York Muscle Radio coaches will dissect all the different body types and explain what not to do or what to do for each type. It's your host, Anthony Bevilacqua, alongside my co-host, Big Pete Kacharian. If you're a new listener, welcome to the best muscle building, fat burning, fitness network ever. What's up there, big guy? What's going on?
Man, I'm just sipping on some decaf coffee, trying to get my thoughts and my mind together, man. It's been scatterbrained on me today.
Yeah, what else is new? You've really been out of it lately.
Today's worse, man. It got to the point, guys, where Anthony forced me out of my chair to make me stand for this podcast. So we know it's getting serious here.
Yeah, man, you tilted the camera. You sat down. So you have a stand-up desk.
Yes.
You literally sat down in a chair and pointed the camera down at yourself. I felt like I was looking down upon you from my castle.
Well, this is
you're like a peasant.
Yes, you are Anthony the Great. So I gotta look up to you.
Well, hopefully everyone learned that from the last episode where we interviewed me.
Yeah, hopefully. I didn't really hear too much feedback on that one yet. Did you get any good responses from that one?
No, to be honest, I haven't gotten anything. Usually with something like that, we get a lot of feedback. Haven't gotten anything.
Man, nobody gives a shit, man.
I guess not, man. Either that or everyone just enjoyed the episode. No one commented about my hair.
I don't know, man. Maybe they didn't find it funny. I don't know.
I was waiting to post that picture up.
It was too old school for them. Maybe, you know what it is? A lot of people that listen to us are a lot younger than us. They probably don't even know what the blowout is.
That is very true.
That's pretty bad, man. I was just looking at that the other day. I graduated high school 10 years ago, man.
Oh, man.
Long time.
I hated high school. I don't know.
I did
hated
too,
high
man.
school. I liked college better.
I hated all of it, man. I'll tell you what, I have way more memories from high school than I do college, believe it or not. And most people will say the exact opposite.
Really?
You know, people always talk about, I did all this crazy shit in college, and like that was like, the 4 years of my life where I did all this stuff that I never done before. I feel like that was high school for me, man.
What did you do? Not wash your hands?
I'm still working on that, man. I haven't gotten there yet.
So I'm going to point it out because you mentioned it to me that I didn't catch it. So in one of the videos, we did a cooking with Pete video. Was it the pizza one?
I told you this. I didn't tell you this so you could tell everybody else.
Wait, so all right, guys, if you head on over to NewYorkMuscleRadio.com and click on the video tab, you can head right over to our YouTube channel, subscribe there. But we did a cooking with Pete. I believe it was the episode with the pizza, right?
Yes, it was cooking with Big Pete making a bodybuilder pizza.
Yeah, so cooking with Howie Mandela Fitness, Pete Kacharian. So he's very, very, very paranoid when it comes to germs. So it was funny because he told me, he's like, I can't believe you didn't catch it. And I was like, what didn't I catch? He said, well, right as I was about to take a bite of my pizza, I noticed like an eyelash or something in my food, and I picked it out and threw it. And I thought you would see it and make fun of me on the on the video, but you didn't catch it. So I tried to go back and watch it, but you can't really tell.
Oh, you couldn't tell? Yeah, I did that on purpose because I'm like, I'm on camera right now, so I have to make this very subtle because I'm like, people are going to pick up on this, and you didn't pick up on it. But you even went back and looked at it, and you didn't see it?
I guess I can't find it.
I did it really, really subtly because I'm like, I don't want anybody to see what I'm doing right now.
Oh, God. Maybe our listeners can find out more about that and spot it. So if you spot Pete Kacharian, screenshot it, and do one of those things where you draw the circle on it, like, pulling the eyelash out.
It actually threw me off, too, because you asked me a question, and I was so involved with what I was doing, I actually forgot to answer you. And you said kind of like, all right, you going to answer me or what? And I got confused because I was paying attention to something else. I was too focused on trying not to make it obvious what I was doing.
But you know what's so funny is you're such a germaphobe, and it's just like you get so distracted by being a germaphobe. Like you're so paranoid about like, oh my God, nothing can touch this pizza.
You know what it is? And again, you guys can draw your own conclusion whether I'm a germaphobe or not. I'm definitely, the word paranoid is probably accurate, and I am definitely paranoid of getting sick. But I'm not afraid of germs in the way where the term germaphobe would make sense to me. I am very cautious over that.
There's something different between being cautious about getting sick and being paranoid. And you're definitely more on the latter of that. Because listen,
right, call it
I don't want to get sick too, but
yeah.
And of course I won't. If I see a hair in my food, I'm gonna pluck it out. But it's just so funny. You go like that extra, like above and beyond step. Like I would have, if I didn't like examine my food the way you do, I probably would have eaten and not even realized it. But you like look down for it.
I go above and beyond for a lot of things in my life that I feel are important, And my health obviously is one of the things I feel is important. But it's funny, and I don't like to use this to say like, oh, see, it pays off. But how often do you honestly see me sick, even with a regular cold?
You're sick more than me.
When was the last time I was sick?
When I was sick the last time.
Yeah, how did I get sick, man? Because you're fucking breathing all over me.
Hey, it's not my fault.
But I'm saying you got me sick, so in theory, you get sick more often than me.
Oh, God. I don't know, man. Listen, whatever. It is what it is.
I'm going to come down with fucking the flu tomorrow. So, guys, this is the last podcast you're going to hear for about a month because Pete's going to be too sick to do another podcast.
Yeah, you'll get something. I don't know, man. You're nuts. I just thought that was so funny, though. So if anybody spots that out, please let us know. So we're doing a little contest for you guys. So here at New York Muscle Radio, we always like to give back to you guys, our listeners, and we've decided to do a giveaway. So do you guys want a copy of any of our New York Muscle Radio signature courses, such as New York Strong, Cracking the Flexible Dieting Code, the ARM program, the Glue program, all these programs that we've talked about time and time again, and people all over the world have bought and used and gotten results. So New York Muscle Radio is going to give you a copy of that for free. That is right, for free. So we're going to make this a contest. This is going to be for the first 20 people only. So the rules are very, very simple. Leave us a 5-star review. Describe why you love New York Muscle Radio on iTunes or on your podcast listening app. Take a screenshot of it and email it directly to us at newyorkmuscleradio.com and at gmail.com, along with which ebook you want. And if you're one of the first 20, we'll reply back with your program for free. Remember, guys, this is for the first 20 people, so act fast now. And again, I'm going to go over the rules one more time. So you get one ebook or course. It must be a new review. It can't be an old one. So if you already wrote us a review, take your mom's phone, your girlfriend, your brother, your boyfriend's phone, your aunt, your dog, your sister, whoever's phone, take their phone, leave us a 5-star review from their phone, screenshot it, send it to us, and you'll get a copy of any of your programs for free. So again, this is for the first 20 people only. So act now. I am not putting this on social media until this episode goes out. So listen to this. Do it right now as you're listening to me. If you're in the gym, put your weights down. Go over to the iTunes store or whatever app you're listening to. Leave us a 5-star review, screenshot, and email to us. It literally will take you a second. Just make sure you write why you love New York Muscle Radio in there. This is a cool contest, man, giving away back to our loyal listeners.
Yeah, and, our whole objective with everything we do is, again, we put this stuff out there for you guys. So, in turn, we just, it's, you help us, we help you. So, we'll give away more free content that's normally paid content. You just got to help us by writing us a review, help the podcast grow. And, again, then we can provide more content for you guys. So, we're not looking to, make you guys spend more money. We're looking to give you guys free content. In turn, you guys help us.
Yeah, but this is for only the people who act fast now. So if you're listening to this, you could already be too late. Someone might have listened to the beginning of that whole spiel that I said and said, I'm doing it right now. So you could be late. You could be number 19. You could be number 20. So head on over to your podcast listening app, leave a 5-star review, tell us why you love New York Muscle Radio, screenshot that bitch, and email it directly to us, newyorkmuscleradio@gmail.com. And then tell us what ebook you want, and it'll be yours, free.
That's a good speech, man. I think I'm motivated to go write a 5-star review right now.
I bet you didn't even leave a 5-star review to the podcast.
Of course I did, man.
You definitely didn't. You definitely did not.
Of course I did, man. I don't know. Go back and look.
If I don't see your name on there,
it's on there. Trust me, it's on there. Can you actually even write one from your account? If not, I must have did it from someone else's account.
Yeah, because I can't write it from my account, but your account, yeah.
Oh, so it must have been my account, yeah.
Yeah, because I can't write it from my own.
I might have wrote on it that Anthony's an asshole, but
hey, listen,
I probably gave it a 5-star review though.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You can write that, guys, if you want to leave that. But again, guys, first 20 people. This contest may be over already, man. We may be still talking about it. It's over.
Yeah, we better go refresh the feed right now.
Maybe if we're feeling generous and you write something very nicely, maybe we'll let you slide if you're 21 or 22. But that's it after that. Doors are shut. Sealed. Man, I'm getting good at like speaking. I feel like I'm motivating myself, you know?
I feel like maybe you could have a conversation with yourself for the whole hour now.
Hey, listen, I don't know. We've been doing a lot of videos for New York Muscle Radio's YouTube page, and I just been like winging everything, and I feel like I'm getting so much better at it.
That's what you do, man. You just wing everything. Yeah, people don't realize how much Anthony actually wings things. I'm more of a guy that likes to be a little prepared and like plan things out a little bit. Anthony don't like that. He's like, let's just get the shit done.
Yeah, that's how I am. So, guys, actually, if you don't follow us already on Facebook or Instagram, you should do so. I'm at Anthony Bevilacqua on Facebook. I'm at AB Fitness on Instagram, and I'm at ABEV87 on Twitter. Again, I'm going to try to start using Twitter, but anyway, that's my handle on Twitter. Pete's at Pete Kacharian and Jacked Fitness, JAKKED Fitness. We already had launched our New York Strong straps. These are the best strap ever on the market, man.
Yeah, and I have to agree 100%. And you know, people are going to think I'm biased or that I'm trying to sales pitch it or anything like that. But the truth is, I've tried every single type of lifting strap out there, to be totally honest with you. And it started for me with the classic old bodybuilding straps that I probably got off of bodybuilding.com, where really, really cheap material that you just kind of wrap it around your wrist. When you go really heavy, that rough material digs into your skin. It leaves, you know, marks all over your wrists. Just doesn't really provide too much support. Then I've gone all the way to the other end of the spectrum. I've used Versa grips. I've used expensive hook grips, and even some other type of grips that were like variations of the two that were just too bulky, just excessive, you know. And I've always said this, and I've had a conversation with you for a while. I like little things about all these different grips, but none of them are perfect. And I think that with the strong grips, we were able to actually get that down to where I'm saying, you know, I could fully agree and say that I think we got it pretty much perfect as far as, you know, not being too bulky, being able to slip on and off the bar easily, and having a really nice, secure grip that just feels comfortable. That's the biggest thing I think about these grips is comfort over everything. Like I said, a lot of these other grips that do have that mechanism of just one wrap around the bar end up being too bulky or too uncomfortable to wrap around the bar. I want something on my wrist that's just going to feel like there's support and a cushion, and it's going to help me lock onto that bar. And that's what we've been able to do with these straps. So I'm really, really happy about them. I'm excited. These are one of the things that we came up with to use for ourselves, and we're going to share it with you guys too. We both did a full back workout yesterday with these straps. Threw out my old pairs. I have no use for them anymore.
Yeah, you can head on over to NewYorkMuscleRadio.com, and you'll see the strong straps on there. But yeah, basically, like you said, I mean, I've used every type of different lifting strap ever. And you know, to be honest, I'll be perfectly honest. To this day, I still don't know how to use a regular strap.
Really?
Yeah, I can never get them tight. One's always tighter than the other, and I can't do it. I still can. Yeah. If you gave me a pair of straps right now, I can't do it.
I used them for years, yeah. And do you remember, too, when I was using those, I actually sewed in a cushion around the wrist? Do you remember that?
Yeah, and the ones you had were so bulky, dude.
Yeah.
They were ugly, man. Too. I made fun of you for them.
Ugly, but you know what? They got the job done, and like I said, I had to customize them myself because they didn't do what I really wanted them to do. But when I customized them, they worked, but, you know, it had a very short lifespan to them because I was sewing them myself. So,
yeah,
you know.
For me, it's all about, especially when I'm getting ready to do my set. I want to get it over with. I want to do it. So I love the strong grips, how you can just easily put your palm up to the bar. And we did a whole video on this. So you guys head on over to NewYorkMuscleRadio.com. You watch the video. But basically, you put your palm against the bar, grab the strap, wrap it once, and then like a motorcycle, vroom, vroom, it's tight.
Vroom, vroom. Remember that, guys.
That was the ongoing joke of the day.
Yeah, when you put them on, remember, vroom, vroom.
But yeah, they really work, and like you said, they're not bulky, so they slip on and off very easily to the bar. So, you know, especially one of the things with deadlifts, why I stopped using straps to begin with was because it took too long. So basically, I like to set on my deadlift from the bottom up. So I'll load my hamstrings, I'll keep my hamstrings nice and tight, and then I'll grab the bar, I'll lock my back in place, and I'll lift it up. When I was using straps for deadlifts, I would lose the tightness in my legs because it took forever to wrap. With the strong grips, I'm able to just slip underneath, one wrap, and boom, it's good. Just because we picked a really good material that's light and not thick, and boom. And they're tested. I had a client today. He was doing deadlifts, and he hit 550 today with the strong straps on. So they're rated for a good amount of weight. So not like, you have to worry about anything else with them. They're great straps, man. I'm super excited for how they came and super excited to let our listeners pick them up, because if they work for us, they're going to work for you. And like you guys know, one of the reasons why this podcast is so successful is because me and my co-hosts have literally tried everything. And even though this is just a simple strap, you know that a lot of thought went into this, because OCD man over here, he cleaned every pair. So any pair you ordered is cleaned personally by Big Picacharian. But
with love and care, guys.
TLC. But again, guys, head on over to NewYorkMuscleRadio.com and pick up your pair of strong straps today. Excited for those, man. I can't wait till people watch that video. Vroom, vroom. That's going to be so funny.
Yeah,
it's a perfect analogy.
You know what? It's funny because you told me about the vroom vroom thing like years ago when you first let me use your Versa grips for the first time because I hadn't used them. You're like, yeah, do it like a motorcycle, vroom vroom. I'm like, what does that mean? But if you watch the video, you'll understand.
All right, guys, let's move on to New York Muscle Radio's quote of the day. Today's quote. Now, I'm notorious for reading all these different books. So I've been reading Steve Jobs' book because I'm interested in his life. I mean, every product I have is Apple. And I wasn't interested into the book until it got more into like the recent products that he's done, Mac, and how he came up with iPods and, iTunes and whatnot. So I pulled up a quote from him. This is a little bit long, but I think it's really, really well fitting. So Big Pete didn't hear it, so it'd be good that he hears it. So you ready, Big Guy?
Yep, let's go.
Oh, and don't mind the corny music. It's not my fault. This is what I've pulled up on YouTube. So don't mind the corny music.
For the past 33 years, I've looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? And whenever the answer has been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart.
What a great quote, huh?
That is, man. And, I never heard that quote before from him. And definitely it resonates with me, though, because I can relate to that a lot in the fact that I wouldn't say that I fear death. I do fear that I'm running out of time before I do die in life, and that's always been something that motivates me to do whatever it is that I'm trying to accomplish, because you do have a limited time to get things done, and you don't realize it. But as we were just talking about this earlier, man, I graduated high school 10 years ago. When I was in high school, 17 years old, graduating, and I think, I'm young, I got a lot of time to get shit done. But you know what? 10 years went by really fast. So I'm 27 now. By the time I'm 37, I'm going to say, oh yeah, I got 10 years, man. But you know what? That's the work you got to do now from 27 to 37. That's the time you really got to get shit done, because after that, you could still get stuff done, but, you're setting your life up now, in your 20s, so that you can live the rest of your life the way you want it to. So, yeah, I definitely feel that that's a very true quote, and I think a lot of people should take note of that.
Yeah, for me, I mean, when I worked at the gym, and most of the listeners know already my story, but when I was working at the gym and running the gym, I hated it. Every day I wanted to quit. For years, I really did. I wanted to quit, but I felt like I had no choice but to stick it out and ride through it, and I wasn't a quitter. I wasn't going to quit. And, things happen in your life for a reason. And now that I don't work there anymore and I'm on my own, and it's just, I don't wake up like that anymore. I never want to quit. Like, we were on vacation, when we went last time. And on vacation, my wife's like, oh, I don't want to go home. I don't want to go back to work. And I'm like, I don't mind. Like, I don't mind going back home. I don't mind going back home. The only thing I mind going back home to was the weather, but that's neither here nor there. But my point is that the reason why this quote resonates with me so much is never feel like, and like he says, don't sit, if it's no too many days in a row, you have to rethink it. It's so true. You should only do what makes you happy every day, because our limited time on this planet, you have to leave your fingerprint. We talked about this on my episode, and this has kind of been my fear too lately. So that's why I like this quote too. But I think a lot of people just kind of settle.
Oh, absolutely.
This may not be fitness related, but it's life related, so it works.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, it's not necessarily fitness related, but at the same time, if your goals and your aspirations in life are fitness related, then get on that, guys, because you do have a limited time here, and it goes by faster than you realize. And in the end, unfortunately, we're all gonna die, so you got to get this shit done while you can. It's gonna happen.
What's so funny too is like I didn't have this type of a resource when I first started, and I literally spun my wheels for years. Doing everything wrong. If I would have had a podcast like this then when I started, I would be so much further ahead. Or like had any of the programs that we offer people cracking the flexible dieting called the ARM program. Dude, my arms would be like 20 inches by now.
Yeah, who knows, man? You know how many years I spun my wheels to do just with everything? I'm not even talking fitness related, just things in life, And the crazy thing now too is I guess it's just because this stuff is more available, but there's so many like younger kids like trying to like better themselves by listening to things like this, or just using these resources available to them. I feel like when we were younger, me and you would have benefited from these, and I think both of us, just with our mindsets, the way we grew up and everything, we would have been on it too. But I'd have to say most of the kids when we were that age wouldn't give a shit about it. They would not be paying attention to that, and a lot of them today are, which is really good,
I know.
So it's so true. They have that at their disposal. We didn't have it, So you guys got to take advantage of it.
Yeah, so again, take Steve Jobs' advice. Live every day like it's your last. And if it's too many days in a row, you need to rethink things. Good old Steve Jobs, man. He really changed the world. Think about it.
Yeah, I mean, and it takes somebody like that who has a clear understanding of, okay, we have something that we're trying to accomplish, and we gotta get it done.
It's so funny. I didn't know his story, Steve Jobs. Right, really quick. This is totally off topic, but I didn't know his story. Right, I didn't know anything about him. Whatever. I only know is obviously he created Apple and iPod, whatever, iPhone, blah blah blah. So I was reading the Disney books before this. So as I'm reading, Jobs' book, he starts Pixar, and I kind of knew that, but I didn't put two and two together. During the whole thing with Pixar, Disney kind of takes over Pixar. So it's like the two things that, like, so Walt Disney was one of my inspirations to things. So it's like the two mesh, and Disney buys Pixar and acquires Pixar. So it's just cool how, like, Steve Jobs always said, like, he recognized Walt Disney for being a success because of what he did. And then he ends up making a company that Disney ends up buying. It's just crazy how, like, all the successful people kind of come together,
Yeah, well, successful people generally, recognize each other and see the potential in other successful people. So I think it's, eventually, just because somebody started before you and created something that you haven't created yet, it doesn't mean that you can't get up on that level. People look at other people that already did something as if they're on a different level. It just means they started before you,
Well, and look at both of them, man. Walt Disney and Steve Jobs. They're both not here, and their companies have outgrown them 10 times,
Yeah.
I think it was crazy, like something like with iTunes, when they launched iTunes, they were projected to make like a million. They were selling songs for 99 cents, so they were projected to make a million downloads in 6 months. They ended up doing it in 6 days, dude.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
Man. Yeah.
Nuts. All right, so let's move on to the fitness trending topic today. And I got a couple things here that I'm going to play. We should just make this Arnold's Corner because, again, I've been watching The Apprentice, and I'm only watching because of Arnold, but I actually got hooked onto the show. I actually kind of like the show now. So I got a couple quotes. I don't think I played it the last time, so I'm going to play the one from last week, and then I'm going to play the one from this week, too. So I just pick at the bodybuilding stuff, so it's kind of cool. All right, hold on. Let's get this queued up here.
To lose. So, when it is a competition like that and both teams have great presentations, then someone is going to have less of a presentation. I mean, it's like me going to the World Championships in bodybuilding. When you go to the Mr. Olympia, it's understood that everyone has huge deltoids and big biceps and triceps and abdominals and intercostal. Then you just look for who has maybe small calves, who has one weak point. Then you analyze it, you look at the man and they pose, and then you finally find someone that has a weak point. And that's the guy that loses and the other guy wins. So that's the way it works. In the same.
Good old Arnold.
I love the way he just talks about bodybuilding, man. The biceps, the triceps, the deltoids, the intercostals.
This is a show about business. Yeah, this is a show about business. Like, basically the two teams went head to head, and basically one of the teams had to lose. So he was basically saying that both presentations were good, but there's always got to be someone that loses. So that's when you have to look for the weak points. But just crazy how he really, and you could tell, but just by the way he does things, how bodybuilding was everything to him and how he used bodybuilding to get to where he is now. It's crazy. All right, so I have another clip from this week. This is a good one too.
As soon as you accomplish accomplish that, you got to go and shoot for the next goal. And for the next goal, if I would have just basked in the glory of being the bodybuilding champion, the most muscular man in the world, and the powerlifting champion and all of those kind of things, I would have never worked my way up in the acting career or in the politics if I would just enjoy the victories. So you enjoying your victory, then you're not really performing 100%.
So I think that was a cool one too, because basically, again, like he's saying, it wasn't just bodybuilding that he was successful. Once he reached that, he looked for the next goal. And I think a lot of people, especially when it comes to fitness, they don't look past fitness. I'm guilty of this. I know you're guilty of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just about looking past fitness, succeed in one area, and then move on to the next.
Yeah, and I think that's very hard for people to do because when you're so set on one goal, that one goal pretty much consumes you. And a lot of people, it takes them almost, maybe it's a really a goal that'll take a really long time, like him winning the Mr. Olympia contest. And if that's your goal, I want to be Mr. Olympia someday, that's something that might take your whole life, and a lot of people don't look past that because they realize how long it's going to take to get there, but they never, let's say they do reach it, they never have a goal beyond that point. And that's when you see the people that reach their goal and they're never happy with it because, okay, I reached my goal, now what? You never thought, if I reach this goal, what am I going to do next? And I think that's another reason why he was so successful is he was always thinking beyond that, which I think subconsciously in his mind, he knew he was going to reach the goal because he had a goal to reach after that. When you set your one goal in your mind as the ultimate goal, okay, if you reach that goal now, you're setting that up in your mind that, okay, once I reach that goal, I'm done. But if you have another goal on the way after that, subconsciously, that's got to do something to you to say, okay, I know I'm going to get there. So now I have something else after.
Yeah, it's so funny. I feel like my fitness goals were never clearly defined to begin with. Like, it wasn't like, I never had aspirations to become Mr. Olympia.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is what I was like, I don't want to become Mr. Olympia. So I want to compete and I want to win, and then I got tracked into powerlifting. And then that I could actually see where the goals, for me, powerlifting really put me on a goal-oriented path because now I have, I have to do 600-pound squat, and I really set aside the goals a lot earlier for me than bodybuilding because bodybuilding is all, subjective. And I guess for anyone listening to this, maybe someone who is not into bodybuilding or fitness in general, just works out, goes to the gym. I think for you, setting a good goal and giving yourself a timeline. We've talked about this so many times, but I think accomplishing one goal and then moving on to the next, having the next one in the background and going and doing that,
Yeah, everything in life is about growing, and I'm not speaking just in the gym, but in life, like reaching your goals, then going on to the next one. And I think this is especially true for guys, just the way our minds work. If we don't have a goal, we're pretty much going to be stuck in just spinning our wheels after a while because that's what we thrive off of, goals and achieving them.
All right. Let's move on, man. I have another fitness trending topic here. This is a funny one. These things always make me laugh. So I came across an article that says these are the first ever naked exercise classes tailored to the naturalists. So basically, it's people between the ages of 33 and 70 can attend an hour-long class on Saturdays in Southampton where they basically are nude and do like yoga, like stretching, and I don't know, but they're completely naked. So in this picture, everything's blurred out, but it's all old men and like a young instructor. So why the guys are in the class, but it's actually funny because some of the guys in this thing have sneakers and socks on and knee sleeves.
Well, they gotta have the knee sleeves on if they're working out, man.
Those who attend will do jumping jacks, sit-ups, push-ups, and partner work. Oh my god!
I'm trying to figure out the purpose behind it though, because
she said that she calls it nude size, neuter size.
But is there like an objective behind it? Being that you're nude?
The idea is that no matter what your body looks like underneath, we're all the same. It's all about normalizing the human form.
Yeah, that's a little...
Can you imagine, dude, seriously, can you imagine like being a guy in this class and then watching the teacher like just like whatever, like do sit-ups and have vaginas like hanging out, bro? Can you imagine that?
Yeah, but I mean, that's one thing. I'm really not looking forward to seeing the old men naked next to me doing push-ups and sit-ups
too. If the teacher was the instructor, I don't know why you'd be looking at the old men next to you.
I wouldn't be, but if I'm sitting in the back of the room and I got old men doing push-ups and sit-ups in front of me.
Once again, if the instructor was a naked woman, why would you be in the back of the room?
Listen, man, I wouldn't be in this room in general, okay? So... I don't know, but I would not be in this room.
She said that it's not as weird as it sounds. It's like going to a nude beach.
Oh yeah, it's not weird.
That's weird, dude. Can you seriously imagine like just literally walking
No,
by?
I would never walk into this room.
Jacks?
No, I would never walk into this room.
Dude, but the pictures are really hilarious because the teacher's like semi-young and it's all guys in the class and they're all old.
Yeah, it's just hippie shit.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. So we don't. I don't know. This is just they're giving other workout stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was hilarious, so I had to bring it up on the podcast. So I guess my question to anyone is: would you guys work out in your birthday suit? Yes, no, maybe so. I'm curious if anyone would do that. I can't. I just can't. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to. Like, can you imagine like squatting balls naked?
No, I mean I've worked out like in my basement before, like in my boxers, but that's about as far as it goes.
Yeah, I've done the boxer thing.
You know,
actually.
like,
I've done that too.
And that's just out of convenience. It's like I woke up, I'm in my boxers. Let's just go. Let's do some curls. You know.
Well, in your case, let's just do some curls and then sit down on the bench. For
yeah. But I don't know. I don't see any reason to not. I'd actually, if I was working out, I'd prefer to have clothes on. You know.
Yeah, I can't work out even with my shirt off. Like we've done it before, obviously, but it's like it's almost weird to have your shirt off.
I mean, your shirt is one thing if it's really hot and you're sweating and you take your shirt off. It's like it's not going to make or break it. But like, I don't know. If I'm squatting, I at least want to have like compression shorts on or like at least boxers, you know?
Not these people.
No.
Everyone wants to be nudist.
Yeah, fuck that. Sorry, guys. Sorry if I offended you.
Have you ever been to a nude beach?
No.
You went to Miami. I know you went to Miami. You ever been to the beach in Miami?
Yeah, I've been to Miami Beach, yeah.
So, do you know Miami Beach is topless?
Is it every beach in Miami?
Yeah.
I don't know. I went during the daytime, like in November. I guess it wasn't as busy at that time, but
well, yeah, November is not summertime.
So yeah,
so, dude, the first time I went to Miami, right? I was with my cousins. We're in Miami. We go to the beach, and I'm looking around. I'm like, holy shit, that girl doesn't have a shirt. I'm like, does she know? Like, I was so puzzled because I had no idea it was a nude beach. And one girl was so beautiful, bro. She was so beautiful, but her tits were out. I couldn't find myself to talk to her because I was just so amazed at how beautiful she was and how beautiful her tits were. Like, I was admiring, and I'm like, I can't talk to her. I was like so taken back because I didn't even know it was topless. Obviously, I know now, but
hey, listen, man, calm down. You're gonna get some people offended over here. Don't use the word tits.
Oh, you're not supposed to? Is that politically incorrect?
It's 2017, man. It might very well be. That might even be fucking too. That might be too much, man. We should not even talk about.
What am I supposed to call them? Nubs? What am I supposed to call them?
I don't know. Female. No, it's not genitalia because we can't even go there.
What are you supposed to call? What's politically correct? Breasts.
Yeah, breasts. Don't call them tits, man. That's offensive.
Is it really? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that.
Hey, listen, really man, we got people crying on Instagram when fucking Trump gets fucking inaugurated. So, you know.
That's because people hate Trump.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying.
People fucking hate him, man.
So you better watch what you say to some of those same
guy,
people.
I feel bad for him. You know, he decides to become president and gives up all the salary and stops working at his $1 billion business to go president. And all he does is get ridiculed all day. That's got to be terrible.
Yeah, he knew what he was getting into, though.
Yeah, I'm sure. All right, guys, let's move on to the shout-outs portion. So, again, guys, if you want to shout out, you can like our page, facebook.com/New York Muscle Radio, or you could do what Ben Simpson did. So, shout out to him. He actually went on over to New York Muscle Radio's website and donated some money to us. We have a donation tab on our site. If you like what you hear and you want to buy us a cup of coffee, feel free to donate. So, shout out to Ben Simpson for the donation. So, let's get shout out to him. We got Cole Riley, John Sims, Woody Dishman, Linda Porsche, Marty Schwollenberger. I'm not kidding. That's his last name, Schwollenberger.
We have some crazy last names that listen to this podcast. Crazy last names.
Hector Chili and Jeff Donato. So again, guys, if you want a shout out, head on over to facebook.com/New York Muscle Radio or hit us up on Instagram and we'll shout you out. All right, let's move on to the listener question, man. We got to roll through this here where we got caught up with the girl's breasts or whatever the hell the teats.
No, tatas.
Tatas. Wait, what was the thing from what was the movie with the fucker? What was his name? With the baby? Come on, man.
With the fucker?
Gaylord Fucker?
Yeah.
What was the name of the movie with the baby?
Meet the Parents?
Yes, Meet the Parents. Thank you. But remember what he was doing with when he would go like this?
Yes.
I forgot the kid's name.
I haven't seen that in a long time. I totally forgot, but I know what you're talking about.
All right, guys, if you have a question you'd like us to answer, you can submit it on our website, NewYorkMuscleRadio.com, so listener question, or you can call your question in. We want more call-in, so call it in, 508-687-2787. 2534. Okay, today's question is from Amanda Toth. She says, I've wanted to ask this question because it seems stupid, but here goes. I do roughly 10 to 15 minutes of post-workout cardio 2 to 4 times a week, which varies between HIIT and low intensity. In the back of my head, I always think about muscle fiber types. Do you think there is any concern of muscle fiber types transitioning from fast twitch to slow twitch from this amount of cardio? And then she asks, what about 40 minutes of cardio? Side question. Do you guys use the regular MyFitnessPal app or the premium edition? Do you know if the premium edition is worth it? Thanks in advance. I seriously love you guys. Well, Amanda, we love you too, baby. All right, big guy, you want to answer that question?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. And if you want to get all scientific with it and everything, there's definitely an answer that we can give you. The scientific answer we can give is actually, yes, you can, I guess to put it simply, convert some of these slow and fast twitch muscle fibers, depending on the type of training that you do. You are genetically set with one, like more of one than the other, depending on your makeup. But that's not to say you can't convert. I'm quoting the word convert based on your training. So if you do a lot of high intensity interval training, scientifically, if you look at like the literature on this, you will see that you can convert some of your slower twitch muscle fibers into fast twitch. I would say a very small, minute amount, and to the point where I wouldn't even be too concerned with that. If that's your goal, yes, you might get a little bit out of it. But if you're worried about it, don't be concerned. I would do both of them depending on what your goal is. But definitely don't focus on, okay, this cardio is going to change my muscle fiber type or anything like that. Just train your muscles to get bigger and stronger, and do your cardio to burn fat. What was the side question she asked though?
I'll answer the side question.
Okay.
So the side question is, do you guys use the regular MyFitnessPal app or the premium edition? And do you know if the premium edition is worth it? I actually have the premium edition. It is worth it because you can do the macros by single grams. But again, if you have something like My Macros Plus, it's also a great app. I think it's like half the price of it, literally, and it does the same exact thing. I know you use the free one, right, big guy?
Yeah, I have never upgraded from the free version simply because it does what I need it to do. There's definitely some convenient things that the paid version will do, but I can get it done with the free version, so I never felt the need to. But I know plenty of people that have paid for it and said, oh, it's worth it because you get the few benefits of the paid option. But I use mine more not to use the actual app. I use it more as just a calculator to calculate my totals for the day. So a lot of times people look at my app and it'll look like I either went over my calories or I went under, because sometimes I don't even adjust what my caloric intake is. That's in my head. I know what I have to hit for the day macro wise, and then I just use that just to hit those numbers for the day. So I don't try to match it up. I don't put my weight in there. I don't change the percentages or anything like that. I just set it and I put the food in and I know, okay, did I hit the right protein, carbs, and fats for today? That's the way I use it. I keep it simple.
I like the premium one. No ads, things like that. But you could go get it done either way. Whatever. If you have extra money to spare, then the premium one may be for you. If you want it on a little bit of a budget and you'd rather invest that money into maybe like the strong straps from New York Muscle Radio, or maybe cracking the flexible dieting code to learn how to diet, you could do that instead, and that would be much more bang for your buck. All right, big guy. Let's take a short commercial break, and we'll come right back with today's topic.
But I'll tell you what, when I'm done, my biceps are humongous. Humongous. Like that, bang!
My name is Anthony Bevilacqua, and I'm the host of New York Muscle Radio podcast. My arms have been a weak point for years. When I started training, my arms measured 11 inches. Even after many years of hardcore training, nothing would get them to grow. With the help of my co-host, Big E, we set out on a mission to gain 1 solid inch to my arms in 12 weeks.
In the greatest experiment of all.
12 weeks later, this program finally helped me get 18-inch arms. The 12-week arm experiment, the ultimate arm growth program, ebook, the audio book, and the workout video. Pick up your copy now on NewYorkMuscleRadio.com.
Nice, Pete.
What?
I saw you checking out that girl's butt.
What? I was just checking out her yoga pants.
Pete.
I was thinking you'd look really good in yoga pants.
Uh-huh.
I was like trying to check out what brand it was. Like I was looking at her form on deadlifts. They were all messed up.
Do you think she has a nicer butt than me?
Well, it definitely doesn't look like a pancake.
Did you just call my butt a pancake?
Well, I mean,
What can I do?
you gotta try New York Muscle Radio's Bootylicious program.
Bootylicious.
Yeah, you'll finally get a celebrity booty, like all the other girls following the program.
Fine, I'll do it. But don't get jealous when other guys check out my glutylicious ass.
Glutylicious, your guide to getting a celebrity booty in 12 weeks. Now available exclusively at NewYorkMuscleRadio.com.
Hey, great coffee.
Doesn't it taste good as fresh perk?
Better.
Better than those girls make at the office?
Honey, their coffee can't hold a candle to yours.
Coffee, the world's only instant coffee that's fortified with muscle-building protein. Visit buyproteincoffee.com now.
What's up, New York Muscle Radio listeners? It's your co-host, Big Pete Kacharian, and I'm glad you're all listening. Put down that tilapia and asparagus. Learn how to get bigger, stronger, and leaner eating what you want. Pick up a copy of Cracking the Flexible Dieting Code exclusively at NewYorkMuscleRadio.com. But for now, let's get to the show.
All right, guys, we're back. New York Muscle Radio, episode number 146. Boost your results with your exact body type. So again, guys, I'm sure you've heard this, before. Body type, and all the different types of body types. You're a skinny guy, or you're a fat guy. Can't lose weight because I'm too fat, or heavy. I want to be politically correct. Heavy.
Nah, screw politically correct, man.
Oh, so you could say fat? Well, we're just changing your mind.
I was trying to be good, man, but I got no patience at this point.
I could say breasts.
Let's just call fat people who got breasts. Usually they both have, the fat people have breasts.
See, that's
too.
fucked up, man. See, that was fucked up.
But it depends. Am I talking about men or women?
That was bad, man. That was bad.
Is
See,
it messed
guys,
up either way?
Man, you always got to take it. See, guys, this is what I'm talking about. He's really an asshole in disguise. He hides it. He tries to hide it well, but he is an asshole. Ah, man, I don't know. But listen, we're the best coaches in the industry. So what do you want? If you guys want to hire us for coaching, head on over to NewYorkMuscleRadio.com. We are accepting clients. So anyway, let's get on with this. So there's 3 different types of body types. Mm-hmm. So you have an ectomorph, you have a mesomorph, and you have an endomorph. So we'll describe what each one is. There's also something called the hybrid, which we'll discuss. And then we'll discuss how each one should train, how you should diet to lose fat or build muscle. So let's get this rolling, big guy. So what is an ectomorph? So the exact definition, an ectomorph is characterized by a short upper body, long arms and legs, long and narrow feet and hands, and very little fat storage, narrowness in the chest, and shoulders, with generally long, thin muscles. I'll just define all 3, man, all right?
No, you don't have to go into defining all 3. I just wanted to know if you named
No, I want to
first.
define. All right. So the mesomorph is a large chest, large torso, solid muscle structure, and great strength. The endomorph is a soft musculature, round face, short neck, wide hips, and heavy fat storage. So as you can see, the very basic definition there is that an ectomorph is a really, really skinny person who can't gain weight. An endomorph on the opposite end is a heavier person who can't lose weight. And a mesomorph is someone who just gains muscle like crazy. So Pete's arms are actually mesomorphs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what leads into the hybrid, which we'll talk about after. But we'll start with the ectomorph, like you said earlier. So the ectomorph basically, just to give you an example, like you heard the characteristics, but everybody knows an ectomorph. An ectomorph is that skinny kid. You always had that friend, no matter what, was just a stick. Ate junk food all the time, ate whatever they wanted, didn't exercise. Guilty. Yeah, just Guilty. Always skinny no matter what. And you always say to them, man, I wish I could eat like you and look like that, but you can't because you're not an ectomorph. So everybody knows the ectomorph, and Anthony's definitely the perfect example of a pure ectomorph in just genetic wise, because we're going to talk about a little bit of differences between lifestyle and genetics, but everyone has a predisposition genetically to what body type they are. Anthony's definitely, I would say, pretty close to a pure ectomorph.
Yeah, I mean, that was basic definition. So I'll move on. So an endomorph, which is on the opposite end of the spectrum, an endomorph is basically someone who has a hard time losing weight, period. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter what they do, just the weight does not want to come off them. They look at food and they gain weight. That's like a common thing that you hear them say. Endomorphs have a hard time literally getting lean, but they can put muscle on pretty easy.
Yes, and they're generally fairly strong naturally too.
I'm trying to think if I have like a who would be an endomorph? Like anyone in the fitness industry right now that you know of that would be an endomorph?
In the fitness industry, that would be. I
popular.
mean, generally you'll see them at least as far as successful people in the
so you
fitness
look
industry.
Look at like Ray Williams.
Yeah, I was gonna say generally the successful people in the fitness industry will find endomorphs doing some type of strength sport. So usually powerlifters. Not all of them. There's plenty of mesomorphs in powerlifting too. But believe it or not, structure-wise, endomorphs have an advantage in powerlifting just because of their leverages. Usually the way their frames are built for squatting and deadlifting and stuff like that. Endomorphs actually have a little bit of an advantage with that. So Ray Williams, pound for pound. And not even pound for pound, the strongest squatter in the world right now in the USAPL. His frame is definitely endomorphic, and he's just a beast.
Yeah. And then you have the mesomorph. So the mesomorph is someone with the perfect body structure, basically little to low body fat levels, and just gains muscle easily. I'm sure you've seen these. I mean, I remember seeing them in high school.
Yeah.
The kids that I would like be doubling what they're lifting, period. Everything they're doing, I'm doing double what they're doing. And I'm looking over and they look like they just, they look like you and I look like a skinny guy. So a mesomorph is someone who gains weight easily. They have like the perfect genetic structure. No one's actually really straight up mesomorph. Usually, which we'll get into, is they're hybrid. But a classic idea of a mesomorph would be, I guess, someone like Arnold.
Yeah, I would say he's probably the only person you could categorize as a pure meso. Yeah,
and females, I would say a pure meso would be someone like Susie Harwick from SSPT. She would definitely be considered a mesomorph. She's super strong, relatively lean, has a good muscle base, so I would consider her. I don't really know a lot of female lifters, period. She's just one that came up to mind. But what about like nowadays? I'm trying to think of like famous fitness people that would be a mesomorph. I think examples are the best way to describe these things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most for the idea behind hearing a mesomorph for a man is definitely gonna be a little bit different than a woman. Muscle wise, with a woman, the idea of muscle is not necessarily gonna be the same you would think of a man. So you're not really thinking of a muscular woman, but you're thinking of
you think of a woman who looks good.
Yeah,
very very well shaped. Yeah, relatively lean and carries their weight in good areas.
Lean, but you wouldn't consider her like skinny. You know what I mean? Because skinny means that you really don't have any shape to the woman. So I would definitely consider muscular to just not be skinny.
All right, so let's talk about the hybrid body type.
Yeah, this is where it gets interesting because most people will fall somewhere in between one of these. And so the hybrid is, you could be a mix of an endo and an ecto, which would be the typical skinny fat guy. Everyone knows a skinny fat guy. He has no muscle on his frame, but he's got this little belly. He's got no muscle. He doesn't really store fat anywhere else in his body, but he's got a belly. So he looks in a t-shirt, jeans. He looks like a typical skinny kid, but when he goes to the beach, takes his shirt off, he's got this belly and he's just not in shape, So by nature, genetically, that would be an ecto-endo hybrid, which you do tend to see a lot of. But then you have on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have a meso-endo, and I think a lot of people, for men especially, fall in this category. I'm definitely one of them, at least to some degree, although I think I'm like a hybrid across all three. That's when you have somebody who genetically stores body fat. Their frame is pretty much built genetically to be on the heavier side. I have like wide hip bones. My body's meant to carry a lot of weight around my midsection. But you also are very strong and you also put muscle on relatively easy. So you basically can put muscle on and you can put fat on almost at the same rate. You don't have trouble with one over the other. So everybody's going to have a little bit of some type of hybrid in them. But out of these three, there's much less. You much more rarely see a hybrid between something like a meso-endo. In most cases, that would be somebody who can put on muscle relatively easy, but genetically is pretty skinny. So a lot of times you don't see that, but there's definitely cases of it. But like I said, most of the time you have the skinny fat person or the muscular person who also puts fat on. So if you're a hybrid, you're generally either meso-endo or endo-ecto, most cases.
So let's go with the bikini and barbell show. Let's go with our host over there, which is Laura. So she's more of an ecto-meso. She puts on muscle rather easily. and she stays relatively lean. So she's in more of an ecto-meso. So that's like a good example for women, I guess, to get the idea.
Yeah, and she's naturally a small-framed girl, so she's not. So she's got that frame of that ecto, but she's able to put muscle on and strength on like a meso. So that's pretty much like an anomaly. That's like I said, it's more rare to see an ecto-meso, but she's a good example of that because it's structurally she's an ecto, but just the way her body puts on muscle and burns fat, she's like a meso.
And there's also extreme to this too. I mean, when I hear ecto, I think of those really, really skinny guys who are like 2% body fat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think of those guys. I am not one of those type of ecto-mesos, but I'm definitely more on the ecto side. I'm kind of like when it comes in the middle, I guess. I never stick skinny and never that lean body fat. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. That's just pure ecto.
Yeah. So there's definitely different grades of, I guess, ectomorph, endomorph.
Yeah.
Same thing with endo. You could be, an endo that's really, really heavy, and then you could be someone who maybe doesn't store fat as much. So there's always like different variations to this. And this brings me to our next point is, does this shit really matter? And I truly believe that there are different types of body types, but again, it doesn't matter. If your goal is to lose fat, you can still lose fat. It doesn't matter if you're an ecto, endo, meso, does not matter, but it's going to matter in how you do it. If you're an endo and you have a hard time losing fat, well, you're going to have to diet down for a lot longer time than someone who's an ecto, who's generally skinny, who stores and loses fat very easily. They could diet in less time. I used to have a client who he would literally get in shape for contests in 8 weeks.
Right.
Because he just generally walked around at like 8% body fat, 6% body fat easily. Like no matter how much weight he put on, he was always still at that weight.
Yeah, the process for all this stuff is still the same regardless of your body type, but what extremes you have to go to and the process that you have to take, the steps you have to take, that's going to vary, but that's just everybody's individuality. So, to build muscles, you got to be in a caloric surplus. You got to train heavy, train progressive. A meso can do that and not have to put too much emphasis on an extra caloric surplus or extra time in the gym because he does it fairly easy. An ecto is going to need to do the same things, but he's going to need to eat a lot more food. His training is going to have to be a little more meticulous, but the process is still the same. It's just how you have to go about it that has to be adjusted for each individual.
So let's talk about genetics versus lifestyle, man. So again, you can be an ectomorph. Let's say you're and I keep using that as an example because I think it's easy for our listeners to relate to someone who's really, really skinny. But you can be an ectomorph. But if your lifestyle is you sit all day, sleep, eat, don't train, don't work out, you can still get fat. Just because you're an ecto doesn't mean that you're going to be skinny forever no matter what you do. And the same thing with an endo. You could be an endomorph. Look at you. You were a fat kid at heart, as a kid. You're not fat anymore, far from fat now.
Yeah, had I personally never picked up a weight or ever watched my diet, I would say at this point in my life still, like I said, when I was a kid, I was definitely chubby, built like an endo. But if I had not gone the route that I had gone, at this point in my life, I definitely would be sitting around like a typical endomorph. Genetically, that's where my body wants to be. Lifestyle-wise, if I allowed that to happen, then I definitely would have been an endomorph. And the interesting thing is, genetically, that's where I was pretty much predisposed to be, but I changed that through my lifestyle. My brother, actually, which is a great example, is
I was just going to bring that up. It's so funny you said that.
Yeah, he did the exact opposite. Believe it or not, when we were kids, my brother was the stick. He was a stick. He was skinny. He was actually fairly tall compared to me. So he had that lanky physique, very, very lean. Me and my brother, we grew up in the same house. We had pretty much the same lifestyle, ate fairly similar diets, but I was the chubby kid. He was skinny, As we got older, my brother put on a lot more body fat than I did because his lifestyle was not fitness oriented. He worked in an office all day. He still does. He's actually dieted down pretty well the last couple of months now. He's actually lighter than I am. But for a while, he was just holding a lot of body fat. And if you looked at him and didn't know genetically what he was predisposed to be, you would think, oh, he's an endomorph. But in reality, genetic-wise, he's pure ecto, if I had to say so.
Yeah. You think so? Your brother?
Believe it or not, yeah. My brother's frame, my brother has a very narrow frame. He's very short compared to me. Like, I'm like 6 inches taller than my brother. I think I don't even know how tall, but yeah, his body frame, like he's carrying 160 pounds right now. He's not heavy, and he's dieted down. Just me sitting comfortably, I would probably be sitting around 180, 185 pounds without paying attention to my diet. If I let myself go, I'd probably be a little heavier. He's a skinny, small guy. Yeah. My father, fun fact, my father is a pure ectomorph. He was like 150 pounds when like he had, when my mom had my brother and me, gained weight over the years after that when he got older, but like in his prime young age, in his 20s, 150 pounds. I can't remember the last time I was 150 pounds.
Yeah, that's crazy. I would never think you would say your brother was an ecto, but again, I didn't know him growing up, so that's funny. So again, guys, as you can see, your lifestyle is going to determine which one you are. So let's roll into this now. So if you are, and I keep saying ecto, but I think, like I said, I think it's all, the easiest one to this. Let's start with them.
Yeah.
How should an ectomorph train? Because we know that it doesn't matter if they want to lose fat or build muscle. The training has to be a certain way for an ectomorph. So again, an ectomorph is someone who has a hard time putting muscle on. So I'm curious what you're going to say for this, and then I'll do my take.
Well, the biggest thing is an ectomorph is going to have to, and everybody should, but an ectomorph especially has to train heavy, has to train progressive, because his body's not going to want to put muscle on. And there's nothing like heavy squats, heavy bench, heavy deadlifts. There's nothing like it that tells your body put muscle mass on, because when you have to lift those heavy weights, that's going to do it way more than you doing pump sets or just doing tons of volume with light reps. Mesomorphs might even be able to get away with that. We'll talk about that after, but there's nothing better for the ectomorph than the basics and heavy lifting to get the job done. Another thing, though, that ectomorphs have to pay attention to, which endos and mesos really don't as much, is they also probably shouldn't, and in most cases I recommend this, spend too much time in the gym and train with too much volume, because naturally the reason that they are ectomorphs is they have very, very fast metabolisms and they just burn through so many calories, and they also have to consume so many calories. So you actually want to limit the amount of calories burned for an ectomorph, because they need those calories to build muscle. So if you're in the gym, and I've seen this so many times with ectomorphs, I guess it's a personality trait that comes with it too. They spend hours and hours and hours in the gym. And I'm talking about like skinny kids who are 140 pounds in the gym for 3 or 4 hours. They have no business doing that. They're burning more calories during that workout than they probably consume in a day. And they wonder why they don't build muscle.
Well, the other thing that what they could do is, again, if they picked up a copy of Cracking the Flexible Dieting Code, they would know. But, in order to, you can spend that amount of time in the gym if you're an ectomorph. You just have to have the proper nutrition with you, having an intra-workout shake with you, something that we talked about so many times before, to be something to combat that. But I'm glad you talked about that, because that's exactly what I was going to recommend too. Lower volume. I would say higher frequency too. It's good to be in there, multiple times a week. But definitely a lower training volume. You want to get, basically, I hate saying this, but you want to get in and get out. Do what you got to do and get out. And I like what you said also about heavy duty training, the basics, because there's something about putting a bar, loading a bar up with, squatting and just putting that heavy weight on your back and feeling that heavy weight on your back. Your body has no choice but to respond. If I'm squatting with 500 pounds and I just holding that weight there, I have to do a lot to stabilize that weight. I know 500 pounds seems like a lot, but if you're a new person beginning and you work your way up to 225 squatting, that weight's going to feel the same as the 500 does on me. You know what I mean? So you're just holding that weight there. You got to learn how to stabilize. You're going to build so much muscle just by doing that. And the same thing goes with squats, bench press and deadlifts. Just holding the weight there, focusing on pressing and just progressing with those movements. That's really where you're going to get your key. And like I said so many times in this podcast, I made the best results ever in my lifting career when I switched over to a more structured powerlifting type program, where it was more about hitting the numbers versus getting the pump stuff. And for the exact reason that Pete said, an ectomorph, you can't burn that many calories. You got to get in and get out, and your muscles kind of fatigue easier. So you have to kind of just be in and be out. So for me, higher frequency always worked, but high volume, each thing never worked for putting on muscle.
Yeah, and it's simply from the fact that, like I said, you have a lot of time in the gym where it's a lot of time burning calories. And like you said, you can do those longer sessions, but then you have to compensate with higher calories. But the fact is, some of these ectomorphs burn so many calories that they'd have to take in way more than that's even realistically possible. That's the one downside.
So let's talk about that then. So how should an ectomorph diet to lose body fat or build muscle?
Well, the good thing about ectomorphs is they don't usually have trouble losing body fat. It's more of holding onto muscle when dieting, and then obviously the issue with putting muscle on in the first place. So that we'll probably discuss first. Dieting to put on muscle for an ectomorph is going to be the same as it would be for anybody else. You have to have your protein requirements, but again, like everybody else, you're going to have enough calories to support muscle growth. For an ectomorph, that amount of calories is going to be a lot higher simply because they generally burn through so many calories so easily. So it's not uncommon to take a 150-pound, 160-pound ectomorph and put them on a 3,000 or 4,000 calorie diet and not see them just gain weight. They might gain at a very slow rate. They might go up and then burn down.
Life.
Yeah, I mean, you're a good example. What did you go up to recently? You were like at 600 grams of carbs. How many calories was that total?
Yeah, so just to give you guys an idea, for me, it takes so many calories to. So this is how I know I'm an ecto-meso, because it takes so many calories for me to actually push the scale up. So right now I'm trying to bulk up and try to put some weight on. So I'm really pushing the calories. So for me, it takes me so high to get my calories. Like in order for me to get to like 210, I'd have to be at 5,000 calories a day. I'm not even kidding. Yeah. And then the problem is, as soon as I switch to dieting, I'll hold that weight. So I won't drop that weight completely, and that's the mesomorph in me, because I'll hold on to that weight, but I'll still get leaner. So it's weird. It almost sounds ideal, but I mean, you've worked with me before. You were my coach at one point. You're guiding my nutrition. You know how that weight just wasn't seeming to come off, and I was actually putting muscle on as I was training.
Yeah. Ectomorphs generally, there's certain body types and people in general that tend to have more adaptive metabolisms, and ectomorphs tend to be very adaptive because ectomorphs their body does not like to change at all. So when you take somebody, like I said, try to put muscle on and they're an ectomorph, you can go sky high with the calories and they'll still find a way to burn through all those calories because it doesn't want to put weight on. Same thing generally happens too in that case too, especially when they're ecto-meso. You'll then have to restrict them pretty hard to get it off. So it's usually ectomorphs. Generally, the way to sum it up is you kind of have to go to the extreme a little bit more than the average person. It takes like a little bit more work.
The other thing that could define a good ecto too is they generally have not a high appetite. They're usually not hungry all the time, and they don't have like the desire for food that most people do. I think that's a good trait for an ectomorph. So that's why also they have a hard time gaining weight. The other thing is too, usually an ectomorph has a higher NEAT or non-exercise activity level. They have like a higher NEAT, so they fidget a lot more, which I'm known for doing. Their mind's always racing. They're very, very fast-paced people, so that's usually an ectomorph. So again, if you want to lose body fat, like my co-host said, it's all about making sure you're getting in the proper amount of protein, not taking your protein too low, because that's happened to me before, and I just put on fat by doing that. And just watching your calories. But if you're an ecto, if you're a skinny guy or girl, and you're just trying to put weight on, focus on calories. Don't even worry about anything else. Just focus on calories and keep pushing those calories up, and eventually that weight will come. It's going to be a job to get that weight on, but once you get it on, you should be good.
Yeah, if you're a pure ecto and you're trying to gain and you're not, it's not a job, it's not work eating, then you're probably not eating enough if you're a pure ecto.
Yep. All right, let's move on, man. So what about an endomorph? How should an endomorph train? So someone who's more prone to putting fat on. That was the politically correct. That was the Picacharian answer.
Yeah, so an endomorph, again, training's always going to be the same to stimulate muscle. You definitely always want to train heavy. There's no reason not to. Endomorph, the difference between an endomorph and an ectomorph is endomorphs generally, they could tolerate more volume, which in some cases is a good thing because they're going to burn more calories. So if you're burning fat, that's definitely a good thing to do. But there's not an issue with staying in the gym too long for endomorphs. Simply because they don't necessarily burn through calories very fast. They're not hard gainers, so they're not trying to hold on to every calorie that they consume in a day. And generally, endomorphs like to eat a lot too, so that generally always is a good idea, eat and train. So nutrient partitioning is definitely going to be a benefit for an endomorph if they are handling both those things, because they like to eat. So if you have them training too, that's going to be to their benefit, and training more with high volume is going to be good for nutrient partitioning. So higher volume is definitely not a bad idea for the endomorph, but again, you still have to have that same heavy progressive training to stimulate muscle growth in the first place.
The other thing too I would recommend, obviously based on what you said, a program like the New York Strong program is a perfect program for someone, any of these body types to train with, because it's progressive and it'll show you how to get stronger and put muscle on at the same time. But the other thing I think an endomorph should add to their training is cardio. I think that keeping in some cardio activity for an endomorph, someone who generally puts fat on easily, is a good idea because it'll allow you to eat a little more, so it'll give you some more energy to train, but you won't be putting on as much body fat. So I think that's something that an endomorph should definitely add in. And it doesn't have to be excessive amounts, even 2 times a week. That's still way more than enough if you're trying to add muscle. Obviously, if you're trying to lose weight, then you got to do some more.
Yeah, and endomorphs generally don't have trouble holding on to muscle the way an ectomorph might. If you diet down an ectomorph a little too hard, you'll see them lose muscle pretty easily.
And they look stringy. Yeah, that happens to me.
Endomorphs, they tend to hold on to everything, so they're very hard for them to burn fat. But you can actually starve down endomorphs a lot more than you can starve down an ectomorph, and they'll still hold on to muscle. I think that's probably the endomorph in me. I don't really lose muscle when I diet down, even when I go pretty hard and severe. My body tends to preserve muscle mass pretty good. So that's one thing you can do. Like we talk about a lot is don't overdo the cardio because you will end up burning muscle. And I still don't recommend that for any body type, but you can get away with a little bit more. And in some cases, you really have to do a little bit more with endomorphs. So you definitely don't have to worry about it as much with an endomorph as opposed to an ectomorph. You have to be really careful not to overdo the cardio, not to overdo the dieting. Endomorphs, you can push it a little more and not really see too much negative impact from it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So now what about diet-wise, big guy?
So diet-wise, again, it's going to be the same thing. You want to make sure you're consuming enough protein so that you are preserving muscle mass. But with endomorphs, you're generally going to have to starve them down. You know, you're going to have to make them suffer.
But that's if they want to lose body fat. What if they want to gain muscle?
If they want to gain muscle, that's where, endomorphs can be looked at with the benefit of being an endomorph and also, the negative of being an endomorph. And what I mean by that is they tend to put everything on pretty easily, more so fat than they do muscle, but they generally don't have trouble putting muscle on. It's just the fact that they can grow muscle, but they also have to put a little bit of body fat on. And we do work with some endomorphs where, we pretty much have to have them put a little bit of body fat on to grow some muscle. So what that means is they kind of have to take both to get the muscle, and then you have to diet them down a little bit more. With ectomorphs, it's generally if they're going to gain weight, they're going to gain muscle. With mesomorphs, they're going to gain muscle before they gain fat. Endomorphs, they kind of gain both of them almost at the same rate. So with the nutrition end of that, you want to make sure that you're eating just enough calories that you're in a slight surplus. But that's it. Don't push it beyond that. Don't try and gain weight fast. Don't try and bulk up. Bulking up is definitely not a good idea for the endomorph. You just want to gain at a very slow rate because you're going to put a little body fat on at the same time, unfortunately.
Something that might be beneficial for someone who gains weight easily but wants to put muscle on is to do dispersed times of adding calories and taking them away, adding calories and dieting, bulking and cut cycles. So being in a slight surplus, as my client said, my co-host said, so basically if it takes 3,000 calories to maintain your weight, being at like 3,300 for a gaining phase is way more than enough for an endomorph. Whereas an ectomorph, if you can maintain your weight at 3,000 calories, you may have to be at 5,000 in order to gain weight.
Right. Yeah, there's usually a big difference in maintenance and surplus for something like an ectomorph, which I said because their metabolism do adapt a lot more. Endomorphs don't really have that adaptation.
Exactly. So for an endomorph, it would be good for you to cycle between, bulking for a couple of weeks and then cutting for another couple of weeks, just so that net gain is a leaner one.
Yeah, absolutely. So you got to take it at a slower rate. Ectomorphs, you could kind of put them almost on like a perma-bulk for a 2-year span, and you're never going to have to go through a dieting phase. Whereas, an endomorph, you're going to have to do those dieting phases a lot more frequently.
Yeah, definitely. All right, do we talk about losing fat with an endo?
Yeah, losing fat with an endo is going to be pretty much the same thing. You're just going to have to starve them down a little more, like I said. Yeah,
because their bodies are a little more resistant to change. So, again, being smart with your diet here, keeping your protein high so you have enough fuel for your muscles, enough amino acids and stuff. I would say, I'm trying to think of what else a pure endo would do. I would say not having a lot of fluctuations. We've had clients come to us who, typically an endomorph is someone who's tried every type of diet. And usually their metabolisms are in the toilet. So it's good, like you said earlier, to take a break from kind of dieting and bulk up a little bit. But building up their metabolism is something that an endomorph should practice doing because it is going to speed up your metabolism doing that. When your calories are too low because you've been dieting for so long, it's kind of hard for your body to respond to that. So again, doing something like that, like I said, and we have other clients too where one guy in particular is definitely an endomorph, and he has low days, high days in order to try to offset that. And it wasn't until we lowered his calories and kind of kept everything the same that his body finally started to respond to what was going on. So an endomorph is definitely sensitive to diet changes as well. So something just to keep in mind.
Yeah, very sensitive.
All right, what about a mesomorph, man? So a mesomorph, I mean, do we even have to touch this? Oh, yeah, because you wanted to talk about pump stuff. So how should a mesomorph train? So basically, we had the guidelines set between the ecto and endo. You got to have a program that has progression and should be focusing on the big compound movement. So in addition to that, if you're a meso, or even if you're a hybrid of anything with a meso, how should a hybrid train?
I still agree 100% that way of training is optimal for everybody. But a meso kind of is an exception to the rule in the fact that they can kind of get away with not doing that and still see the same results because they naturally put muscle on a lot easier than everybody else. It's kind of like, think about like in an ecto, a good rule of thumb if you don't want to get fat is don't eat so many calories. That's a good rule of thumb for everybody, right? But an ecto is pretty much the exception of the rule because you'll see them eating thousands of calories and not gaining weight. A meso with training is almost like the same thing. Okay, a good rule of thumb is if you want to build muscle, train heavy, train progressive, and stimulate the muscles with heavy compound movements. Whereas a meso can kind of go in the gym. If he's a pure meso, he can do a few pump sets and actually grow. That depends on the individual. Not everybody can do that, and in most cases, that's not the only way to get them to grow muscle. But I've seen mesos half-ass their workouts and get the same results as ecto and endos who are putting in hard work. So with mesos, it's not to say they should train different, but if they don't train optimally, a lot of times you will see them put on muscle just as easily as somebody who's really grinding it out in the gym.
And not to say also that pump stuff doesn't work for any body type. Definitely if you're an ectomorph and you want to pump up your biceps a little bit more, you could definitely hop on like the arm training program in addition to what you're doing in order to get results there. But, a pump type workout also will work for any body type. Endomorph, like we said, you can handle higher volume, so you can do stuff like that. Whereas an ecto, you got to be a little bit smarter and not add so much of that in, which I was guilty of doing so long in my training career.
Definitely.
So what about diet and diet-wise, man? So is there anything a mesomorph should do diet-wise? I mean, pretty much a mesomorph is going to have the ideal body fat. So, but again, it's all going to fall into genetics and lifestyle. If you're eating if you could put on muscle easily, but you're eating like shit, overeating your calories, you're going to put on body fat no matter what.
Right. And for a meso, the fact is you just have to think, no matter what it is that they're trying to accomplish, it's going to happen a little bit easier. So, okay, if you want to gain muscle, you got to be in a surplus, but you could put a meso in a very minimal surplus. You could have them even pretty much at maintenance and just a little bit higher, and they'll grow muscle without putting fat on. Same thing, when they go to diet, generally, you don't have to take a meso's calories very, very low. You could have mesos that, bulk on 4,000 calories and then have them losing body fat on, 3,400 calories, and get them in contest shape eating 3,000 calories. We've done it before. They don't have to go too extreme on one end or the other. And in most cases with mesomorphs, that's a good thing because you don't want to take them down too low with calories, because if you do, then they're going to end up losing their size. They're going to end up losing their muscles. So you got to
body will shut down.
Yeah, you got to make sure not to take mesomorphs too low in calories. You have to make sure not to make them do too much cardio. So you want to keep everything minimal as far as fluctuations with a mesomorph.
Yeah, and then when it comes to building muscle, I mean, I think you answered that for both ways there.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. You don't want to go too overboard with it because, again, there's going to be a point of diminishing returns very fast with a mesomorph.
So now, man, I want to wrap this all up because I guess the main thing here is, does this all matter?
Yeah, that's a great question. And as far as does it all matter, it doesn't matter in the sense of, okay, if it's an excuse to not do things the right way or to not do the work involved. It's good to know where you are so you have a good idea if you're not reaching your goals. Because sometimes you'll have maybe an ectomorph who says, I've been doing everything these guys in the book are telling me to do. I've been reading Arnold Schwarzenegger's Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding, and he says do 20, 30 sets per body part and, eat 6 eggs with butter and stuff like that. And I'm not gaining weight. Well, you know what? You're an ectomorph, and if you're not gaining weight and you're not seeing the results, you shouldn't be doing so much volume, and you shouldn't be eating just a little bit of extra calories. You might need to go really, really high. So you need to understand if you're not getting the results, that's when it does matter.
Yeah, I agreed, man. And it's not going to, so if you're listening to this and you're saying, oh shit, I'm an endomorph, or oh shit, I'm an ectomorph, what do I do? Hopefully we gave you the right ideas to follow. But overall, if your training is good, no matter what body type you are, and your diet is sound and built according to your goals, you're going to achieve those goals no matter what. So again, an ectomorph who can really transform their physique will look great. An endomorph who can transform their physique will look great. A mesomorph, who transform their physique will look good. It doesn't matter. Everyone's going to look good as long as your training and diet is sufficient. So again, if you get good resources like Cracking the Flexible Dieting Code, a good training program, like we said, the New York Strong program, these are the key elements to building any physique, whether you're skinny or heavy, or it doesn't matter, So again, guys, those are the 3 different body parts and the hybrids, and what you should do and how you should train for them. And like we said, there are differences between the two, and I think you have to know them in order to know where you are and know what you can tolerate and what you can't tolerate.
It's always good to know. Knowledge is power, guys.
Oh, that was corny, man. That was a PBS thing. Channel 13 from back in the day.
Hey, man, that's what we grew up on.
It did. Remember the commercial with the eggs?
Well,
this
scrambling the eggs?
Yeah, this is your eggs.
This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. Yeah.
This is your brain eggs. This is your eggs on drugs.
I eat a lot of eggs that are on drugs, man.
Oh, the hormone ones?
Yeah, my eggs are loaded with hormones, guys.
Yeah, me too, man. I go to like the BJ's or Costco, and one of those like wholesale places, and I get the big 6 dozen eggs. I
get jumbo eggs for like $1.45 or $1.50.
That's kind of expensive.
You think so?
Yeah, it's cheap at BJ's. It's funny. When I had the meal prep company, I used to go to the restaurant store. Dude, did I ever show you the eggs?
No.
I never took a picture of it for you. I got to take you in there one day because I still have my card. But they have these eggs, 20 dozen eggs. Like there's big boxes, dude, boxes full of eggs. Because, for the restaurants. I'm like, oh, man, I wish I had room in my fridge because I would buy that. Because I hate going to the store to buy eggs all the time.
So they're bigger eggs is what you're saying?
No, same size eggs.
Big.
Yeah, it's 20 dozen.
I've always wondered. Yeah, that's crazy. But I thought you were going to answer a question that I've always had in the back of my mind, which I still can't figure this out today. And I probably should know this, but I can't figure it out. When you go to the diner or something, or if you go to a restaurant, diners mostly, and you order 2 eggs, does that look anything like the 2 eggs that you make at your house?
Why are you insinuating that they're bigger at the diner or smaller?
Bigger. If you order 2 eggs, it's a whole meal.
Well, usually because the boxes of eggs from the restaurant store are jumbo eggs.
Yeah, but even if I make 2 jumbo eggs at home, that's not enough for me to eat in one meal.
But you got to remember, too, you're using a normal-sized pan. They use a big skillet type thing when they cook that.
So
when
you think
you
it just comes out, spreads more?
Yeah, because they don't use they don't use the pan.
Yeah, because every time I go out to eat at a diner, I order an eggs. Generally it's 2 eggs in the omelet or whatever it is, and I'm like, this is so much for 2 eggs. When I make 2 eggs at home, it's like 1 bite.
Yeah, no, you crack it and it spreads, man.
All right, good to know, man.
It's on a like a hot plate, I guess.
Yeah, no, I know how they cook it and what it looks like, but just when it comes out, it just still looks like bigger than 2 eggs. But
did you ask the cook if they clean their hands? They wash their hands?
Oh no, don't worry. The heat killed off all the bacteria.
Oh my god! You know what happens back there, right?
No, I don't know what happens.
Dude, you know how many times? And I'm not saying I never did this because but we rented a kitchen, and inside this kitchen, I've seen some crazy shit that goes on. People have literally dropped food on the floor, picked it up, put it back on the plate.
I know that happens.
Like crazy shit, man. You don't understand what goes on in a restaurant.
I know. I mean, I only know from what limited experience I have with that and what I've seen, but I know that goes on. Yeah, of course.
I never worked in a restaurant, but one of my friends did, and he said the shit that goes on is crazy. People really do spit in your food. Don't be nasty to your hostess because you never know.
Yeah.
That's why I'm always happy. I never try to give anyone an attitude, especially when I go out.
Yeah,
but still, you never know. Your food could fall on the floor. You wouldn't even no idea.
Yeah, you would never know.
And I always get afraid too when you order food and there's something wrong with it, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, you don't want to say anything.
Yeah, you like don't want to send it back because you know like they're just gonna take it and like scrape everything off.
Yeah, you're like, do not take my food where I can't see it, please.
Exactly. All right, guys. Well, this was today's podcast. Again, boosting your results for your exact body type. Again, guys, leave us a 5-star review. Don't forget to join our contest. Screenshot that. Get your free program today. Big guy, your turn.
All right, guys. Pete and Anthony, New York Muscle Radio, and we're out.
Enjoyed this episode of New York Muscle Radio? Make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave us a 5-star review, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, New York Muscle Radio.